when a teenager in the suburbs of California decided to explore her world against her mother's wish. She suddenly falls prey to the dangerous web of lies and human trafficking. And with only 48 hours before her daughter disappears forever, a desperate mother is left with only a few clues, and she must race against time to uncover the truth and save her child. On a bright day in California, we see a young man named Johnny strolling along a quiet beach, where he soon finds a homeless couple. The pair appear nervous when they see him, but Johnny quickly calms them down and even offers them food. He then informs them that he works for a shelter group and offers to provide shelter and safety. Although the husband hesitates, his wife is easily convinced by Johnny's manners, and they eventually give in and choose to follow him to the shelter. But unknown to them, Johnny is part of a human trafficking gang, and as soon as they walk towards the van, Johnny signals his men, who immediately ambush the couple and force them into a van before driving away. Shortly after, Johnny receives a call from his sponsor called Melina, who informs him that their wealthy clients are insisting on them being fresh, rather than just vulnerable targets like the homeless. And this immediately pushes Johnny to seek out more desirable victims. In the meantime, we see Catherine, who is a strict mother living in the suburbs with her teenage daughter Emma. She keeps an eye on Emma's life closely, and she even forbids her from dating boys for now. That morning, after breakfast, Catherine drives Emma to the mall to meet her friend Courtney. But as she drives off, Catherine notices that the girls were speaking with two young men. However, when she tries to call Emma to ask who the boy was, Emma ignores her calls, making Catherine save the confrontation till when she returns home. That afternoon, when Catherine goes to work at a construction site, she notices a missing persons poster on the street. Concerned, she asks one of the construction workers about the case, but he easily dismisses it as just another runaway case, and he even tells her that she can take down the poster on her way out. So Catherine decides to remove the poster, only to be confronted by a passerby who introduces herself as Anna. She tells Catherine not to interfere with the posters when the girl is still missing, as she tells Catherine that the poster is that of one of the many girls that have recently been kidnapped in the past few days. Anna works for an agency that's focused on stopping the trafficking of young girls around the neighborhood. On hearing this, Catherine is remorseful for removing the poster, and after Anna gives Catherine her contact card for future reference, Catherine replaces the poster from where she had seen it. That evening when she returns home, Catherine questions Emma about the boy she had seen with her earlier. But Emma becomes defensive as she expresses her frustration with her mother's constant surveillance, as she claims that even when her father was around, he doesn't monitor her like Catherine does. This eventually softens Catherine's expression as she calms down and apologizes, and this prompts Emma to reveal that the boy's name is Adam. When Catherine learns that Adam is 19, she becomes alarmed once more, and this sparks a heated argument that ends with Emma being grounded for the next 24 hours. However, the following morning, Emma sneaks out through her bedroom window to meet up with Courtney and her friend. But when she tries calling Adam, he doesn't respond, and just as she is about to leave, Adam unexpectedly appears. He claims that he had avoided her earlier, just so he can get her for himself, as he offers to buy her a milkshake. But moments later, Emma begins to feel dizzy, and within seconds, she collapses. So, Adam swiftly carries her through the back to a van, where Melina's men were waiting. Together, they load her inside as they pay Adam for his services. When the men drive off, Adam quickly throws away Emma's phone in a dumpster before disappearing. In the meantime at home, Catherine prepares coffee and knocks on Emma's door, but receives no reply. After waiting for some time, she starts to grow suspicious as she forces the door open only to discover that Emma has slipped out of the room. When she tries calling Emma's line, she finds that the phone is unreachable. So, she turns to Emma's tablet and tries to track the phone's location. She eventually gets a location for the phone, which leads her directly to the dumpster. Fearing the worst, she searches inside only to make the chilling discovery that Emma's phone is inside the trash. Terrified by this, Catherine contacts the police immediately. However, when the officers arrive more than an hour later, they waste time asking irrelevant questions, which sounded more like they were testing her patience. And despite her pleas for them to act fast, they insist that she must wait 24 hours before they can officially begin the search. And this invariably means that the traffickers will get all the time they need to move Emma farther away and tighten their grip while Catherine's hope begins to slip away. When she is forced to return home, Catherine finds that there have not been any calls to her home line, and this makes her grow even more frustrated. About that same time, see that the traffickers have delivered Emma to their hidden warehouse, where several other kidnapped girls are being held, including Emma's friend Courtney. Moments later, Melina enters and coldly explains the girls' fate to them. She tells them that the girls are now her property, and that they are destined to satisfy the desires of her clients. She then demands to know which among them are still virgins. Two of the girls and Emma raise their hands, and Melina instantly marks them as premium assets. Before leaving, she warns them that disobedience to her demands will mean severe punishment for them, and that it would even extend to their family if they try to escape. Later on, the captured girls are lined up in chains as men record them on videos for prospective buyers. Johnny begins with Courtney, who immediately starts to plead with him to free her, and when she refuses to cooperate with his directives, Johnny asks one of the men to hit her in the stomach, and this eventually forces her to comply. Reluctantly, she performs under Johnny's orders, and once finished, Emma is called forward as they continue to record all the girls for the traffickers' market. Meanwhile, Catherine is still desperately seeking help as she calls her friends and neighbors to ask if they know about Emma's whereabouts. But all her efforts were futile, and as she gradually starts becoming overwhelmed with despair, she remembers her recent encounter with Anna as she retrieves her card and calls her. When Catherine tells her about Emma's disappearance, Anna quickly urges her to come over to her office. There, Catherine is shocked by the sheer volume of pictures of missing people on her wall, and when Anna asks her if there had been any case of abuse at home, she denies it. So, Anna explains to her that time is critical as she shows Catherine a website where Emma's biodata can be entered for tracking. In the end, she warns that victims like Emma can vanish permanently within 48 hours if not found. She also tells Catherine the grim reality of why police intervention often fails, as she explains that trafficked girls are frequently mislabeled as criminals, and that they often end up imprisoned instead of receiving protection and medical care. So, if they must recover her, they need to act fast. That night, inside the criminal's hideout, Emma befriends another girl named Piper, who warns her that trying to escape isn't a good idea for them. She recalls how another girl had tried to escape, but was caught by the guards. And after breaking the girl's leg, the guards unleashed bulldogs on her, and she meets a horrible end just to serve as a warning to the rest of them. Later on, Melina meets with Johnny to discuss their operations, as she reminds him to reserve the virgins for the syndicate, who are willing to pay top dollars. She also warns Johnny to keep an eye on Adam, as she doesn't want anyone developing cold feets. The next morning, Anna and Catherine get into action as they start distributing missing persons posters across the community. But when they attempt to post one in the same shopping mall where Catherine had recovered Emma's phone, the manager confronts them and refuses. However, Catherine lashes out as she angrily asks him how he would react if it were his own daughter. While they argue, Anna notices that there is a surveillance camera in the mall, and she immediately demands that the manager allows them to review the footage. The manager reluctantly complies, and on screen, Catherine identifies Emma alongside Adam. They all watch as Emma slumped into Adam's hands and how he had taken her away. Seeing this, Anna immediately orders the manager to contact the police before she and Catherine rush out to track Adam themselves. As they step outside to the streets, Catherine suddenly spots Adam walking. Anna advises her that they would need to be cautious, as she recommends that they trail him to wherever he was heading. Eventually, they follow his car until he reaches a park, where he is meeting up with Johnny. But at this point, Catherine was unable to control herself, as she leaves the car and confronts Adam directly and immediately demands answers about Emma's whereabouts. Impulsively, Adam denies any involvement, but then Catherine starts to threaten to involve the police, and this seems to shake Adam. However, at this point, Johnny, who was watching from a distance, quickly realizes that their situation is compromised, and without hesitation, he flees the scene, leaving Adam all alone. But as Catherine's confrontation with Adam grows increasingly aggressive, he is forced to run for his life. And during the chase, Adam falls to the ground and starts struggling for air as his asthma overwhelms him. He reaches for his inhaler, but Catherine refuses to hand it over until he provides information about Emma. In desperation, Adam begins to speak, but before he can reveal full details, Johnny appears and shoots him in the chest. When he realizes that he will not survive, Adam decides to give Catherine a final clue about her daughter's whereabouts before dying. Now fully fueled by grief and anger, Catherine returns home only to be confronted by the police officer, who starts to warn her against placing her life in danger. But she immediately vents out her anger as she asks them the reason why they keep doing nothing to find her daughter. Frustrated by their indifference, she vows to take matters into her own hands. And together with Anna, she checks the trafficking website for updates. There, they discover new listings, including Courtney, who appears drugged and terrified in the picture. Still very much disappointed by the lack of police support, Catherine comes up with a plan to infiltrate the operation herself, posing as a client for one of the girls in the hopes of locating Emma and exposing the traffickers. Meanwhile, at the traffickers' hideout, Melina orders her guards to prepare the girls for transport to a new location known as the Pink House. Moments later, Catherine and Anna arrive at the location where they are to meet with the girl they had made a bid for. Before entering, the two strategize their move, and in a quiet moment, Anna tells her about her own tragic past, as she was a former victim of trafficking. She then recounts how she was sold as a child, forced to endure relentless abuse day and night, and how her survival now fuels her desire to save others. When Catherine eventually prepares to enter, Anna hands her an extra phone and warns that if she doesn't return within 30 minutes, she will call the police. Catherine eventually managed to gain access into the compound after she was searched by guards and escorted to the holding area. There, she finds Courtney in the room, drugged and in a very drowsy state. When she sees her condition, Catherine decides to quickly act as she takes a photo and sends it to Anna, who immediately contacts the authorities. Catherine then tries to ask Courtney about Emma, but the girl is too disoriented to respond. At that moment, one of the guards receives a call from Melina as she tells him that one of their contacts within law enforcement has tipped her off that Emma's mother is now inside the compound. At this point, Catherine had changed Courtney into new clothes and was carrying her out. But the guard quickly double-crosses them and hits Catherine across the head, knocking her unconscious. When she awakens, Catherine finds herself restrained in the trafficker's base, and that is when Melina enters, bringing Emma along with her. When Catherine starts to plead for her daughter's release, even offering money in exchange, Melina coldly rejects the idea. Instead, she tells Catherine about her own backstory, about how she was sold to the syndicate at 13 by her own mother, and that she had begun building her own trafficking empire by 18, and that by 20, she was already running the business. She was not only dealing in women, rather, she has decided to involve children, as well, since she is solely driven by her quest for profit. She then demands to know what Catherine has told the police, but Catherine insists that she told them nothing. Suddenly, Melina receives word that the syndicate has arrived. So, she orders Emma to be taken to them, as she leaves Catherine alone with one of the guards. But just as the guards prepare to have his way with her, Catherine seizes his gun when he lowers his guard as she takes him hostage, and then incapacitates him before rushing out to find Emma. When she finally sees Melina, who is holding Emma at gunpoint, Melina confronts her, as she announces that she has changed her mind about Emma. She no longer wants to hand Emma to the syndicate. Instead, she now plans to sell Emma as piecemeal to buyers worldwide. Then she shoves Emma toward her mother, forcing Catherine to drop her weapon. But as Melina aims at her, preparing to take out Catherine, Emma picks the gun on the ground and fires at Melina, as she finally brings an end to the reign of terror. Then moments later, the police storm the hideout, and after a violent clash between the officers and the syndicate, the traffickers are ultimately subdued. And with the operation dismantled, all the captives are freed, and Emma is finally reunited with her mother. And by the end of the movie, we are informed that thousands of children are trafficked for sex every year in the United States alone, and hundreds of thousands suffer the same fate across the world. So, the question is, what are we all doing about this global emergency? And that is the recap of the movie, Stolen from Suburbia. If you loved this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and also leave a comment for us. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.